Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Today we're going to be covering the big updates from the last couple of days, and we're going to start with the Bad Batch Season 3. I've not seen anyone really talk about this, but it is pretty major for a big character and the overall story of the third season. This may come as a surprise to some, but for others not so much, and I want to give a big shout out to Shani, who sent me this on Twitter, on the official Bad Batch fan page on Reddit. A fan speculated that Vice Admiral Rampart is probably not going to return in Season 3. Nasir Dalal, who voices the character, responded to this, as he does for many threads. Here's what he said: "I've got to say you're a very kind person. I'm always responding as Rampart, so please don't take anything I say too seriously. That being said, would I have loved to be a part of Season 3? Absolutely. I'm pretty sure by now they would already be recording though, and sadly I haven't recorded any Bad Batch stuff in a long time." He then goes through a back and forth with another commenter, reassuring the last time he recorded on the series was for Season 2, and he definitely didn't do any voice work for the third and final season. Now of course, he could be playing coy, but his verified account responded to this on his own volition. Unprompted, he went out of his way to settle the score. We have now seen the last of Edmund Rampart. His ending came through his arrest in Season 2, and fan theories stating he probably was executed might be true. During the final voting session for the Defense Recruitment Bill, Ryo Chuchi brought forward to the Senate former Senator of Camino, Hallie Batoni, to testify against Rampart's appropriation of the Defense Finance Committee's funds. Rampart was using said funds to finance his war mantle bases and recruits. Bail Organa arrived with a command log, which he presented before the Senate, solidifying their objections to the bill and belief on Rampart's guilt concerning the destruction of Topoka City. With all evidence against him, Rampart was arrested by the Coruscant Guard and forcibly removed from the floor. Palpatine then stepped in and used Rampart's actions to garner support for the bill. So that is the last we've seen of Rampart. If Nasir did not do any voice acting for the third season, and given we know from Michelle Ang that recording is done, I don't think there's any chance we see Rampart again. And I suppose in the context of the focus of Mount Tantiss, this makes a lot of sense. It doesn't serve the plot. He no longer serves the plot. But imagine a scenario where Rampart survives, and somehow lives to the end of the Imperial reign, and is alive during the time of Mando, and is working for the Imperial Remnant. A small chance, but I wouldn't rule anything out. This guy's been a staple of the first two seasons, and I appreciate Nasir Dalal's contributions to the character, but also for being such a dedicated fan, and speaking with the fans. It is worth noting a couple of years down the timeline in canon, in the Tarkin novel, there is an Imperial marshalling depot for supply ships which is called Rampart Station. I don't know if Rampart had anything to do with this, or they named it after him, which would be strange given his arrest. So I'm thinking at some stage maybe Jennifer Corbett or Dave Filoni decide to do more with this story further down the line. And so now my dear friends, moving on to our next subject. I can't believe Star Wars is doing this. The Rotten Tomatoes review score is pretty good, and I'm kind of pumped. What am I talking about? A couple of days ago we celebrated Life Day, the anniversary of the 1978 holiday special, and in universe, a galactic celebration. But now there is a documentary coming out about the making of this infamous movie released 1 year after A New Hope. A Disturbance in the Force is a comical behind-the-scenes doco that arrives on Blu-ray on December 5th. It's also being released in select theatres in the US, UK and Australia ahead of its home entertainment launch. It chronicles the bizarre events that made the holiday special what it was, a trippy, bizarre adventure in a galaxy far, far away, with Mark Hamill still to this day being embarrassed by his portrayal of Luke in the film. According to Variety.com, it stems from George Lucas wanting to cash in on the craze by producing a holiday-themed variety special. Approximately 13 million people tuned in to CBS when it aired. The only problem, it famously became a terrible 2 hours of television, never to be shown again. The structure is pretty crazy. You've got a cooking show, you see the home life of Chewie's family, a cartoon where we first see Boba Fett, and Chewie's dad being kind of, let's just say, creepy. Many reviews have already come out describing this documentary film as amusing and exhaustive. You don't have to be a Star Wars diehard to value this documentary for its tea-spilling and gossip-mongering. You know, the holiday special is one of those things that's almost so bad it's kind of good. There are aspects I really find funny and kind of charming with the way it's aged. I would go as far as saying it's probably one of the most unique pieces of sci-fi. 44 years later, many of us in the fandom watch it ironically. What do you think? Are you gonna watch it this year? And were you amongst the 13 million to have watched it on TV the day it aired? And so finally guys, we had a major piece of gaming news this week. Star Wars gaming fans have been anticipating the KOTOR remake ever since Lucasfilm Games released that awesome teaser trailer 2 years ago. Over the last year and a half, we've had a few rumours and headlines come out for the development of the game, but now, my dear friends, it appears as though production is completely dead. The remake is no longer happening. With a few exceptions, it's been a bit of a rough time for Star Wars gaming, with the number of delays, cancellations, and the long-anticipated KOTOR remake is added to the list. The only updates since 2021 have been rather negative, with development seemingly not going well, switching studios, and constant reports about the game being in trouble. This unfortunate update comes to us from recognised and reputable industry insider Jeff Grubb, who took to his podcast and YouTube show Game Mess Mornings to share what he's been hearing in regards to the troubled project. The conversation started when Grubb and his co-host Tamoor Hussain discussed the Embracer Group CEO refusing to talk about KOTOR recently, with the CEO claiming anytime he talks about KOTOR it becomes a headline, which is kind of ironic given the news that followed, what we're talking about today. Grubb and Hussain joked that this move is similar to singer Mariah Carey, often claiming she doesn't know who the singer and actress Jennifer Lopez is, refusing to acknowledge their existence, and of course, the irony that comes with repeating this. This spurred Grubb to share with viewers what he believes the situation to be from his trusted sources, revealing the remake is currently not being worked on by any studio. That's right, it's dead. Nobody is working on this. Embracer Group own the studios touted to work on this remake, Aspyr and Saber Interactive. The former were the studio announced back in 2021 to be developing the title, with Saber stepping in as a support studio. However, Saber took full control of development on the project. Here is the quote from Grubb. "I just want to clear it up. This game is not being worked on right now. Just full stop. The game is not being worked on by any studio." And it is worth pointing out a couple of months ago, there was a bit of confusion after the KOTOR remake trailer was made private on YouTube by Sony and PlayStation, with the company deleting announcements of the title from their social media pages. Embracer claims that these actions were made private due to an error with licensed music. But Jeff Grubb points out, Sony want nothing to do with the project anymore, despite having co-publishing rights and helped finance the project. He did state, while they're not going to do so at the moment, Disney could step in an attempt to save the game if they want to, but from the sounds of things, they just want to move on from this project. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Are you a fan of Knights of the Old Republic, and had it come to fruition, would you have played this? So with that said, my dear friends, share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.